The forest was alive with whispers. Moonlight filtered through the thick canopy, painting silver streaks across the dirt path. Elora moved quickly, her heart pounding, not just from the long trek back to the village, but from the unmistakable feeling that she was being watched. Her maid's uniform clung to her slender frame, slightly torn from the earlier scuffle with the merchant's dogs, but she didn't care. She had errands that had kept her out later than usual, and the full moon tonight made every shadow seem dangerous. She didn't notice the eyes watching her from the darkness. The figure moved silently, each step absorbed by the forest floor, unseen and almost unreal. He had followed her from the castle, his instincts sharper than any human's, and yet he had never expected to see this. The Lycan King, tall, broad-shouldered, with a presence that commanded even the fiercest of alpha wolves, had always thought of Elara as fragile, demure, and utterly untouchable. She was his maid, after all, a creature of simplicity in the chaos of his world. But tonight, something shifted. Elara stumbled over a root, and he moved faster than thought, catching her gently by the arm. Her breath caught. "You shouldn't be out here alone," he said, his voice low, carrying both warning and something darker, something hungry. Elara looked up at him, startled. The silver light of the moon kissed his sharp features, illuminating the golden flecks in his eyes. And in that moment, she felt exposed. I lost track of time," she murmured, pulling away, but his gaze pinned her. It was impossible to look away. The forest seemed to disappear around them, leaving only the two of them suspended in a moment heavy with unspoken tension. He noticed the faint bruises on her wrists, evidence of a struggle she had tried to hide. His jaw tightened. Something primal roared inside him, a need to protect, to claim, to punish those who dared hurt his maid. "Who hurt you?" His growl wasn't fully human. His hands, rough yet gentle, brushed her hair away from her face. Elara flinched, caught between fear and something else she couldn't name. Her pulse raced, echoing his own wild heartbeat. She had always known there was danger in him, in his world, in the tales whispered among the villagers about the Lycan King. But never had she imagined this level of intensity. Before she could answer, a rustle in the trees made her whirl around. The wind carried a hint of another alpha, a rival scent sharp and invasive. Elara didn't know it, but her presence tonight had drawn attention, and the Lycan King, for the first time, felt the wild pull of possessiveness that even he struggled to control. He stepped closer, the ground beneath them vibrating with his power, every muscle taut and dangerous. Elara's breath hitched, her body instinctively leaning toward him, yet wary. "I won't let anyone touch you," he whispered, and in his tone there was no debate, only certainty. The forest seemed to hold its breath, and in that fleeting silence, Elara realized that the man who had always seemed untouchable, distant, was now dangerously close, wild, and utterly hers, in ways she had never imagined. The shadow of another alpha flickered behind the trees, unseen by her but not by him, and the night was about to ignite. Elara barely had time to steady her racing heart when the rustle in the trees became a full-on movement. A figure stepped from the shadows, taller than any man she had ever seen, with eyes that glowed a fierce amber in the moonlight. The scent hit her before she even realized it, a powerful, commanding aura that rivaled the Lycan King himself. "You shouldn't be wandering alone, little maid." The stranger's voice was deep, dangerous, and laced with amusement. The Lycan King's eyes narrowed, the golden flecks in them flaring like molten fire. Every instinct in his body screamed at him to strike, to eliminate the threat that dared approach his maid. His claws itched beneath his gloves, his wolf within growled in warning. "You'll leave," the Lycan King said, his voice cold, sharp as a blade. Now, the rival smirked, stepping closer, and Elara felt the tension spike. She had never realized how close she was to being at the center of two alphas' worlds. The air around her crackled with danger, desire, and unspoken war. "I don't take orders from kings," the rival sneered. "And I can see she's different. Special." The Lycan King's hand shot out, grabbing Elara gently but firmly by the waist, pulling her back. The movement was protective, possessive, and utterly intoxicating. She could feel his raw power radiating off him, making her pulse quicken. "You hear me?" he growled, voice dropping to a low, dangerous rumble. "She's mine." Elara's breath caught, torn between fear and something far deeper, a strange, magnetic pull toward the man she had served for months but never truly seen. And yet, she was keenly aware of the danger pressing in from the rival alpha. The stranger laughed, a dark, mocking sound.
"If she's yours, King, then you've already lost."
Without warning, he lunged. The forest erupted in chaos, The Lycan King moved with impossible speed, blocking the strike that was meant for Alara. Leaves flew in every direction as claws and teeth clashed, the sound echoing through the trees like thunder. Alara stumbled backward, heart in her throat, watching the two alphas collide in a blur of strength and fury. Her instincts screamed to run, but she couldn't tear her eyes away. The king's golden eyes met hers for a split second, a silent promise flashing in their depths: I will protect you, no matter the cost. Then, in a moment of raw, unbridled power, the Lycan King grabbed her hand and pulled her behind a massive oak. The rival alpha snarled, circling, marking the air with his scent as a warning. You belong to me, the Lycan King whispered, voice rough with emotion, trembling slightly, not from fear, but from the overwhelming need to claim her, protect her, and make sure no one else ever touched her. Alara's heart raced. His words, his presence, the sheer force of him, it made her dizzy. She realized in that instant that she had never truly understood the danger of loving a Lycan King until now. The rival alpha lunged again, and the forest became a storm of snapping branches, flying leaves, and primal growls. Alara pressed herself against the Lycan King's chest, feeling the rhythm of his heart, feeling the raw power that both terrified and exhilarated her. And as the moon climbed higher, bathing the world in silver light, she understood one undeniable truth. Tonight would change everything. Her life, her heart, and her fate were now bound to a wild, untamable force, the Lycan King who had just lost control. The forest shook under the power of the two alpha wolves. The Lycan King's growl was a low, dangerous rumble that made Alara shiver from both fear and something far more intoxicating. The rival alpha lunged again, and this time the king didn't hesitate. He moved like lightning, intercepting the strike before it could reach her. Alara pressed herself against his chest, feeling the raw strength of his body beneath her fingertips. His heartbeat was a fierce drum, wild and relentless. She could feel his claws barely restrained, his teeth bared in a silent promise of protection, and she realized with a shiver that this was more than protection. This was possessiveness, dominance, and a desire that went beyond reason. You're mine, he whispered, his lips brushing against her temple. His voice was rough, ragged, and almost desperate. No one touches you, no one. Alara's breath hitched. She had never felt so exposed, so seen, so claimed in her entire life. And yet, the danger pressing in from the rival alpha made her pulse quicken even more. She instinctively leaned into the Lycan King, drawn by the magnetic pull of his dominance and the undeniable safety he radiated. The rival alpha snarled, circling, clearly frustrated by the king's sudden protective aggression. You can't keep her, he spat, eyes glinting in the moonlight. She's more than your maid, she's a prize. The words ignited something inside the Lycan King. His grip on Alara tightened, not cruelly, but with a force that made her knees weak. He stepped in front of her, placing himself fully between her and the threat. Every muscle in his body tensed, glowing with alpha power. I don't share, he growled, the forest echoing with the intensity of his voice. And I never will. Alara felt herself trembling, not just from fear, but from the storm of emotion and raw desire emanating from him. His aura surrounded her, suffocating yet exhilarating, dangerous yet protective. She could feel the heat radiating from his body, the wild energy of the wolf that lurked just beneath his skin. Then, with a sudden movement, the rival alpha lunged once more. This time, the Lycan King didn't just block him, he roared, a primal, ear-splitting sound, and shifted partially into his wolf form. His eyes glowed gold in the moonlight, fangs bared and claws extended. The rival froze, sensing the full force of his power, and for the first time, Alara saw fear flash across the other alpha's face. The king's hand shot out, pulling her behind him as he unleashed a surge of energy that rattled the very trees. Leaves and dust swirled around them, the world shrinking to just the three of them. You belong to me, he growled again, his voice rough, low, and trembling with emotion. And I will not let anyone take you. Alara's knees weakened, and she stumbled against him, her cheek brushing against his chest. The warmth, the scent, the undeniable pull of him, it was overwhelming. Her lips parted slightly, her breath catching as she realized that she had never truly felt this vulnerable, this exposed, this utterly herself in the presence of anyone, let alone the Lycan King. The rival alpha, sensing defeat, snarled one last time before retreating into the shadows, but the danger didn't fully leave the air. The king's hands remained on her, holding her close, possessively, as if he could never let go. Alara whispered, her voice trembling. You followed me all this way. He looked down at her, his golden eyes blazing with intensity. I don't follow. I protect. And when it comes to you, I lose control. A shiver ran down her spine. Those words, those raw emotions made her pulse race. She had served kings, nobles, and strangers, but never had she felt so seen, so desired, and so undeniably claimed. The moonlight caught on the edges of his jaw, highlighting the wolfish curve of his features, the tension in his broad shoulders, the undeniable dominance that radiated from every inch of him. And in that instant, Elora knew that her life had changed forever. She was no longer just a maid, she was his. And the night was far from over. The forest had fallen silent after the rival alpha's retreat, but the tension between Elara and the Lycan King lingered, thick and almost tangible. She could feel the heat radiating from him, the pulse of his heartbeat beneath her trembling fingertips. Every instinct screamed that she should pull away, yet every fiber of her being longed to remain within his dangerous, consuming presence. He lowered his face closer to hers, golden eyes locking with hers in a way that made her knees weak. "Do you understand what just happened?" he asked, voice low, almost a growl. Elora swallowed hard. I think so," she whispered. "But why me?" His hands cupped her face gently, thumbs brushing over her cheeks, rough yet tender. "Because you're not like anyone else. You see more than you let on, feel more than you show, and you've survived things no one should." His gaze softened just slightly, but the raw intensity never left it. "And for that, I can't control myself around you." Elara's chest tightened. She had always thought of herself as invisible, just a maid in the grand castle of the Lycan King, unnoticed and unimportant. Yet now in the moonlit forest, she realized that he saw her, truly saw her, and the sensation was dizzying, overwhelming, and terrifying. She began, but words failed her. The pounding of her heart, the heat of his body, the wild energy surrounding him, it was more than she could process. He leaned closer, the scent of him intoxicating, wild and magnetic. "You've never known the danger you were in, not just from others, but from me." Elora's brow furrowed. "From you?" "Yes." His voice dropped to a whisper, almost a growl. "I'm not just a king, I'm a predator. And when I sense what's mine, I don't control it." Her breath hitched. The confession was raw, primal, and frightening. Yet beneath it, she sensed something else, an unshakable desire to protect her, to claim her, to make sure she was safe and only his. "You don't understand," he continued, eyes flashing gold in the moonlight. "I've followed you, watched over you, and for weeks I've fought the urge to—" Elara's lips trembled as she interrupted softly. "You don't have to explain." He paused, studying her, as if trying to read the truth behind her words. Then, slowly, he stepped back just enough to let her breathe, though the magnetic pull between them remained undeniable. "Tonight I lost control," he admitted, voice low and rough. "And I won't lie, I want nothing more than to protect you, to keep you, to make you mine." Elora's pulse raced, her body tingling with every word. The danger, the heat, the wild alpha energy, it made her feel alive in a way she had never experienced. And somewhere deep inside, she realized she wanted it too. "I've never," she whispered, voice trembling, "felt like this before." A slow, dangerous smile curved his lips. "You'll get used to it," he murmured, his hand brushing her hair away from her face again. "Because from this night forward you belong to me. In every way." The moonlight bathed them in silver, the shadows dancing across the forest floor. Every instinct screamed that the night was far from over, that the Lycan King's desire, protectiveness, and wild, untamed power would not let her go easily. And in the distance, a faint rustle reminded them that danger was never far. But for now, beneath the moonlight, Elora allowed herself to be consumed by the king's intensity, by the raw pull of his desire, by the undeniable truth that nothing in her life would ever be the same again. Her life had shifted irrevocably. She was no longer just a maid. She was the Lycan King's, and he had just discovered how far he was willing to go to keep her. The castle was silent when they returned, the flickering torches casting long shadows along the stone walls. Elora's hands trembled as she followed him through the grand corridors, every step echoing in the cavernous halls. The forest had been alive with danger, passion, and the unspoken pull between them. But the castle was different. It was his domain, and in it, she felt both vulnerable and irresistibly drawn to him. He stopped suddenly in a secluded hallway, far from prying eyes or servants. The silence was heavy, filled with anticipation and the unspoken truths lingering between them. "Elara," he said, his voice low, commanding, yet with a tremor that betrayed the storm of emotion within him. "Do you understand what it means to be mine?" She swallowed hard, meeting his golden gaze. I think I do," she whispered, though uncertainty still fluttered in her chest. His hands came up, rough and strong, framing her face. The heat of him radiated through her, making her shiver. "You don't just belong to me because I say so," he murmured. "You belong to me because I can't let anyone else touch you, because I can't control myself around you." Elara's breath hitched, a shiver running down her spine as his words penetrated deep into her very core. The way he looked at her, it wasn't just desire. It was possessiveness, protection, and a raw, unrestrained need that made her pulse race. "I," she began, but he silenced her with a finger against her lips. "No words," he said, his voice husky, almost a growl. "Tonight you will feel what it means to be claimed." Before she could react, he stepped closer, the warmth of his body enveloping hers. His hands traced the curve of her shoulders, down her arms, memorizing every inch of her. Elara's heart pounded, her mind spinning with both fear and a wild, thrilling anticipation. "You are mine," he whispered, his lips brushing the shell of her ear. "In every way, and I will not forgive anyone who ever tries to take you from me." She trembled, caught between the pull of his dominance and the undeniable heat surging through her. Every instinct screamed that this was dangerous, that she should step back, but the magnetic force of him held her captive. His face tilted closer, lips hovering near hers, and she could feel the wild, untamed energy radiating from him. His eyes burned into hers, gold and molten, full of desire, possessiveness, and a promise that sent shivers racing through her body. "Elara," he murmured, his voice rough, low, almost a growl. "Do you understand? Once I claim you, there's no going back." Her lips parted, her breath shallow. I understand," she whispered, though her voice trembled with both fear and longing. Without another word, he closed the distance, capturing her lips with his inner kiss that was both tender and feral. His hands tangled in her hair, pulling her closer, pressing her body against his. The heat of him, the raw power, the magnetic pull, it was overwhelming. Every nerve in her body ignited, every thought scattered, leaving only the primal connection between them. He broke the kiss just slightly, resting his forehead against hers. "You are mine," he murmured again, softer this time, almost reverently. "And I will make sure you never forget it." Elara's heart raced, her body trembling with a mixture of fear, desire, and awe. She had served kings and nobles before, but never had she felt this consumed, seen, and utterly claimed. The forest, the rival alpha, the dangers, they were all distant memories now. All that mattered was the Lycan King, the intensity of his presence, and the undeniable truth that her life had changed forever. And in that moonlit hallway, amidst shadows and flickering torchlight, Elara realized with a shiver that she had stepped into a world of wild, untamed passion, of possessive love, and of a king who had just lost complete control because of her. The castle was quiet, but the tension between them was far from over. Elara could still feel the heat of his body, the feral pull of the Lycan King's presence, as he kept one hand lightly on her waist, the other brushing the back of her hair. The earlier kiss lingered like fire on her lips, and she could feel his desire vibrating through the air around them. Suddenly, a distant howl broke the silence, a sharp, threatening sound that sent a shiver down her spine. The Lycan King stiffened instantly, every muscle in his body taut with readiness. His golden eyes narrowed, and a low growl rumbled from deep in his chest. "They've found you," he muttered, voice rough, barely above a whisper. "Or they're testing me." Elara's stomach dropped. "Who?" she asked, fear prickling her nerves.
Others like me,
he said, jaw tightening revels. "Alphas who think they can challenge me or take what's mine." His gaze swept over her, softening slightly. "Especially you." Elara's pulse quickened. The world she thought she knew, the quiet life of a maid, had vanished. Now she was at the center of a dangerous, primal world she barely understood. Yet, despite the fear, she felt an undeniable thrill. Every fiber of her being screamed that she belonged here with him. "You," she whispered, voice trembling, "you followed me into danger. Why?" He stepped closer, brushing her cheek with his thumb. "Because you are not just anyone," he said, voice low and feral. "You survived more than anyone should. You are stronger than you realize. And I cannot let anyone harm you." Elara felt a surge of emotion, fear, awe, and something much deeper. The intensity of him, his need to protect her, it was overwhelming. I didn't know," she murmured, voice barely audible. "You didn't need to," he said sharply, his hands gripping her shoulders now, firm, unyielding. "I sensed it. You carry a fire inside you, a strength I've never seen in a human, not even in a half-blood." Elara froze. Half-blood. She had always felt different, but no one had ever called her that. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice small. The Lycan King's gaze softened slightly, but his golden eyes still burned with raw intensity. "There's something about you, something in your blood. Something that makes others notice you. Something that makes you special." His voice dropped to a whisper, almost reverent. "It's why I can't control myself around you. Why I need to protect you. Why you belong to me." Elara's heart raced. She had always known she was different, but the truth hitting her now, coming from him, was almost too much to bear. The realization of her own power, mingled with the Lycan King's possessive need for her, made her pulse pound and her breath catch. Before she could respond, a loud crash echoed through the castle. Someone or something was trying to break in. The Lycan King's fangs bared, claws flexing. He moved in front of her, every inch the alpha, the protector, the predator. "No one touches you," he growled, voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. "Not tonight. Not ever." Elara pressed herself against him instinctively, feeling the full force of his protective energy. The king's presence was overwhelming, dangerous, and utterly intoxicating. She realized then that her life had shifted completely. She was no longer a mere maid, she was his. And the Lycan King would move heaven and earth to keep her safe. And as the shadows of intruders moved closer, Elara knew one undeniable truth: the night, the danger, and the raw intensity of the Lycan King's possessiveness had only just begun. The crash echoed again, louder this time, shaking the stone walls of the castle. Shadows darted across the hallway, intruders moving with predatory precision. Elara's pulse raced as the Lycan King positioned himself in front of her, every muscle coiled like a spring. His golden eyes glowed, fangs bared, claws flexing, pure alpha energy radiating from him in waves. "They think they can take you?" he growled, his voice a low rumble that made the air vibrate. "They don't know who they're dealing with." Elara's hands trembled, but she didn't step back. A strange warmth surged through her, almost magnetic, almost alive. It was as if the Lycan King's intensity had unlocked something deep inside her. She could feel the energy, the power, even the threat surrounding them, and it thrilled and terrified her all at once. The first intruder stepped into view, a massive wolf, hybrid with eyes like molten bronze, claws clicking on the stone floor. Without hesitation, the Lycan King shifted partially into his wolf form, his body glowing with golden energy. His growl split the air like thunder. Elara's breath caught. She had seen his power before, but witnessing it unleashed fully was overwhelming. She felt her own pulse sync with his, and a sudden spark of something unexplainable surged within her. The bruises on her wrists tingled, and she felt strength coursing through her veins that she hadn't known she possessed. The intruder lunged, but the king was faster. With a single motion, he intercepted the attack, claws slashing through the air. The sound of metal and flesh colliding echoed through the hall. The intruder yelped and scrambled backward, clearly shocked by the raw force of the king. "You don't touch her," the king snarled, voice now a growl that shook the walls. "Do you understand?" Elara watched in awe as he moved with a deadly fluid precision, every motion a perfect combination of power and grace. But then, something inside her flared. Without thinking, she stepped forward, placing a trembling hand on the nearest intruder. A sudden pulse of energy shot from her, striking him squarely in the chest. He yelped, stumbling backward, disoriented and shaken. The Lycan King froze mid-strike, eyes widening as he turned toward her. "Elara, what did you just?" She didn't know. She only knew that the power had come from her. Something deep inside, something she had never understood, had surged out in a protective instinct. She felt raw, electric energy coursing through her body. The intruders hesitated, sensing that this small, seemingly fragile maid was no longer defenseless. The Lycan King's fangs bared into a snarl, but this time there was a new intensity in his gaze, pride, awe, and an even fiercer possessiveness. "You have power," he said, voice low, dangerous, and full of wonder. "Power that belongs with me and only me. Do you understand?" Elara's breath came in shaky gasps. I think I do," she whispered, feeling the surge of energy settle within her. "Good," he growled, moving in front of her once more, claws flexing. "Because no one will ever touch you. Not while I'm alive. Not while I breathe." The intruders hesitated, sensing the bond, the raw energy between the two of them. And then, with a roar, the Lycan King lunged forward, taking the fight into the shadows of the castle, leaving Elara trembling but alive, yet profoundly changed. For the first time, she realized the truth: she was no longer just a maid, and he was not merely a king. Together, they were a force unstoppable, dangerous, and utterly bound by desire, protection, and something far more primal than either could have imagined. And as the echoes of the fight faded, the king turned toward her, golden eyes glowing brighter than the torches around them. "Do you understand, Elara?" he asked, voice low and tremulous. "Yes," she whispered, chest heaving, heart racing.
I understand I'm yours.
He closed the distance, lips brushing hers in a kiss that was both possessive and consuming, sealing the bond forged in battle, passion, and primal power. The night was far from over, and neither was their story. The castle was quiet again, but the tension lingered like smoke. The intruders had retreated, yet the air seemed heavier now, charged with the memory of the fight. Elara sank to the floor, trembling, trying to catch her breath, her mind still reeling from the surge of power she had felt within herself. The Lycan King knelt beside her, one large hand on her shoulder, the other brushing strands of hair from her face. His golden eyes were softer now, but the intensity never fully left them. "You've changed," he murmured, voice low and rough. "Tonight you revealed more than you realize." Elara's hands shook. I don't understand. I've never felt anything like that before. Why did it happen?" He studied her eyes, narrowing thoughtfully. "Because there's something inside you, something strong, primal, something I've only seen in rare bloodlines. I think you're more than human." Elara's heart skipped a beat. "More than human?" she whispered. She had always felt different, stronger, faster, sharper, but never had anyone put words to it, and certainly never the Lycan King. "Yes," he said softly, brushing his thumb over her jawline. "Your strength, your instincts, they're not natural for a mere maid. There's power in your blood, Elara, and I intend to protect it. To protect you. No one will touch you, not ever." She looked up at him, her pulse racing. "Protect me from what?" His gaze darkened, shadowed by memory and rage. "From those who would claim you, from rivals. From those who fear the power you carry. From anyone who doesn't understand that you belong to me." Elara shivered at the possessiveness in his tone, at the raw alpha energy radiating from him. Every nerve in her body screamed that she was utterly his, body, mind, and soul. You always follow me?" she said softly, voice trembling with a mixture of fear and awe. "Even into danger. Even when I'm in trouble." He leaned closer, golden eyes glowing like molten fire in the torchlight. "Because I can't bear to let anything happen to you," he murmured. "You are mine. And tonight I lost control. I couldn't let anyone hurt you, not the intruders, not anyone, not ever." Elara's chest tightened. She had always served silently, unnoticed, but now she realized how much she meant to him. How deeply he wanted to claim her, protect her, and possess her in ways she had never imagined. "You're different," she whispered, voice barely audible.
"From anyone I've ever met."
"And you're mine," he growled, voice low and dangerous, a predatory gleam in his eyes. "No and forever." A sudden noise at the far end of the hallway made them both tense, soft, deliberate footsteps. The intruders had returned, but Elara noticed something else. This presence wasn't just human, it carried a darkness, a power, a threat unlike anything she or the Lycan King had faced before. He tightened his grip on her, golden eyes scanning the shadows. "We have a problem," he muttered, his jaw rigid with determination. "Someone else knows about you and your power. Someone who will stop at nothing to take you." Elara felt a shiver of fear and excitement. The world she had once known, the quiet, predictable life of a maid, had vanished. She was now at the center of a deadly, passionate, and primal battle. But one thing was clear, no matter what came, she would not face it alone. The Lycan King, wild and untamed, protective and possessive, would stand with her, claim her, defend her, and ensure that she remained his, no matter the cost. The shadows in the hallway stretched longer as the torchlight flickered. The night was far from over, and the next threat would test everything, their bond, their strength, and the untamed passion that connected them. And as the Lycan King pulled her close, whispering promises only she could hear, Elara realized a terrifying and thrilling truth: she was no longer just a maid. She was a queen in the making, and the Lycan King's obsession with her had only just begun. The castle halls were eerily silent, the only sounds the soft echo of their footsteps and the occasional flicker of torchlight. But the tension was thick, almost suffocating, and both Elara and the Lycan King felt it. Something was coming, something darker, stronger, and more dangerous than any intruder they had faced before. A shadow shifted at the far end of the corridor, moving with predatory grace. Elara stiffened instinctively, and the Lycan King's golden eyes narrowed, muscles coiling with lethal tension. "Stay behind me," he ordered, voice low, dangerous, feral. "And do not move unless I tell you." Elara nodded, but her heart pounded not from fear alone, it was the strange, electric energy coursing through her veins. The surge of power she had felt in the battle earlier tonight had not left. If anything, it had grown stronger, pulsating with a life of its own. The intruder stepped forward, a figure cloaked in shadows, their presence radiating cold, dark energy that made the torches flicker and the air thrum with tension. "So this is the little maid the Lycan King protects so fiercely," the figure hissed, voice dripping with malice. "I've been waiting for this moment." The Lycan King's growl rolled through the corridor like thunder. "You dare threaten her?" His claws flexed, fangs bared, and his eyes blazed gold. Every inch of him radiated alpha dominance, pure protective fury. Elara felt the surge again, stronger this time, emanating from deep inside her chest. Without thinking, she raised her hands instinctively, and a pulse of shimmering energy burst forth, knocking the intruder backward. The dark figure stumbled, eyes wide in shock, as the energy crackled like lightning in the air. The Lycan King's jaw dropped slightly, awe and possessiveness flashing across his features. "Elara, that's it." He breathed, voice low, trembling with intensity. "Your power, it's awakening. And it's ours now." She could feel it, her strength, her instincts, and a deep connection to him that went beyond desire or fear. It was raw, primal, and utterly consuming. The moment was intoxicating, terrifying, and thrilling all at once. The intruder regained composure, snarling, "You think a maid can challenge me?" But as they lunged, another wave of energy surged from Elara. This time, the intruder was thrown against the stone wall, groaning, defeated but still alive. The Lycan King stepped forward, moving with lethal grace, golden eyes locked on the figure. "No one lays a hand on her," he growled, every word vibrating with alpha authority. "No one, she belongs to me, and I will destroy anyone who tries to take her." Elara's knees trembled, her breath coming in shallow gasps. Her power had manifested in ways she couldn't yet control, but the king's presence anchored her, his possessiveness fueling the surge inside her. He pulled her close, forehead resting against hers. "Do you feel it?" he murmured, voice low, ragged. "Do you feel what you are, what we are together?" "Yes," she whispered, trembling. "I feel everything." His lips brushed hers briefly, rough and possessive. "Good, because from this moment forward no one, not rival, not intruder, not fate itself, will ever touch you. You are mine, completely, forever." The intruder, realizing the futility of their attack, retreated into the shadows, but the tension remained. The Lycan King's golden gaze never left Elara, possessive, protective, and dangerously intense. "You are mine," he whispered again, pressing his forehead to hers. "And I will teach you what it means to belong to a king." Elara's heart raced. She had always been just a maid, unnoticed, overlooked. But now she was awakening to her own power, to the unshakable bond with the most dangerous, captivating creature she had ever met. And in the flickering torchlight, with shadows dancing on the walls, she realized that her life and her heart were no longer hers alone. They belonged to the Lycan King, and he would never, ever let her go. Elara didn't remember how her legs carried her, only that the Lycan King's hand never once left her waist as he guided her through the dim hallway. The attack had ended, the intruder had fled, but the storm inside her had just begun. Her hands still tingled, her pulse still raced, and every time she inhaled she could smell him, the wild forest scent, the heat of his skin, the raw power of an alpha who had nearly lost control because of her. They entered one of the secluded chambers, the war room, though now its usual cold atmosphere felt different. Charged, heat alive, he shut the door with a soft thud. Elara stood there, her back against the polished wood, breathing hard, staring at him. The Lycan King didn't move for a moment. He simply watched her as if she were something sacred and forbidden at the same time. His golden eyes glowed faintly, still in his half-shift, still dangerous and still impossibly beautiful. Lara. Her name left him like an exhale, like a prayer he wasn't supposed to say. Her heart jumped. "Yes, my king." He flinched at the title. "Don't call me that." His voice was low, rough, almost pained. "Not when we are alone." She swallowed. "Then what should I call you?" He walked toward her, slow, predatory, but his eyes were soft in a way that made her chest tighten. "Call me Rowan." Rowan. Her lips trembled around the name. A glow rippled from his chest, not violent, but primal, instinctive, as if hearing her speak his true name satisfied something ancient inside him. "That power," Rowan murmured, lifting her hand gently in his claws. "It responded to me. To your fear, to your connection with me. I don't understand what's happening to me," she whispered. "You will," he said, stepping closer, crowding her against the door but not touching her further. "I'll help you understand. I'll help you control it." His thumb brushed her pulse point, and her knees weakened. "You're not human, Alara. I felt it the first night you stepped into my castle." She blinked. "But you tried to hide it," he continued gently. "But power does not hide, especially not power that calls to mine." Her breath hitched. His golden eyes glowed brighter. "You feel it too," he said softly, almost accusingly.
This bond!
She looked away, overwhelmed.
I don't know what it is.
"Then look at me," he whispered. Her gaze lifted, and the world disappeared. There was only him, only the bond, only the way his soul pressed against hers like two magnets forced together by fate. Rowan's voice was nearly a growl now. "If I touch you again, I won't stop." Elara's heartbeat thundered in her ears. "Then touch me," she breathed before she could stop herself. He froze just for a second. Then something inside him snapped. His hand rose to her cheek, fingers trembling, not from hesitation, but from holding back too much for too long. Lara. This time her name wasn't a whisper. It was a vow, a warning, a surrender. His forehead pressed to hers, breaths mingling, tension electric. "I shouldn't want you like this," he admitted, voice rough with emotion. "You're my maid. I am the Lycan King. I should keep my distance." "Then why don't you?" she whispered. He inhaled sharply. "Because the moment you stepped into my life," his lips brushed hers, barely a ghost of a touch. "My control was doomed." Her whole body trembled. "Rowan, that was all it took." He kissed her. Not politely, not carefully, but fiercely, possessively, desperately, as if he had been starving for years, and she was the only thing he had ever craved. She melted into him, fingers gripping his shirt, heart leaping into his hands. His arm wrapped around her waist, pulling her impossibly close. The heat of him, the strength of him, it was overwhelming, consuming, and the bond between them flared like wildfire. Rowan tore his lips away just long enough to growl against her throat. "You don't know what you do to me." Alara gasped as heat shot through her entire body. He kissed the side of her neck, slow and claiming, "This bond?" Another kiss. Shouldn't exist. Another. But it does. Another lower now, and I can't fight it anymore. Her knees buckled, and he caught her effortlessly, one arm around her thighs, lifting her slightly as if she weighed nothing. "Alara," he whispered, voice trembling, "I won't let anything or anyone take you from me."
Do you hear me? You are mine.
Her lips parted. "And you're mine." His growl shook the room. The torches flickered violently. Her power surged again, lighting the air with a faint shimmer, and Rowan's eyes widened not with fear, but with awe. "Alara, your power is reacting to our bond." His voice was almost reverent. "You have no idea what that means or how dangerous it makes you." Before she could ask, a loud crash echoed somewhere deeper in the castle. Rowan stiffened instantly. "Instincts flaring," he said sharply, cupping her face. "Stay with me. No matter what happens next." She nodded, heart hammering. Because she understood, their kiss was not the climax, it was the spark. And now the fire was coming. Bloodlines and betrayal. The sharp echo of crashing doors jolted them from their heated embrace. Rowan's golden eyes snapped open, glowing fiercely in the dim light of the war room. The intruders, they had returned. But this time, they were not alone. Elara's pulse raced as she felt the tension spike. Something primal in the air warned her this was no ordinary attack. The scent hitting Rowan's senses was thick, dangerous, ancient, arrival alpha with power that rivaled his own. "They know," Rowan growled, pulling Alara close. His claws flexed, his wolf instincts roaring just beneath the surface. "They know who you are and they want to use it." Alara froze. "Who I am," she whispered, fear and curiosity mingling. His jaw tightened. "Your bloodline," he said, voice low, trembling with urgency. "There's more to you than you realize. You carry power that shouldn't exist in someone human or even half-blood. That's why they're here. That's why they'll stop at nothing to claim you." Before she could respond, the doors slammed open. A figure emerged from the shadows, a towering alpha aura, dark and commanding, eyes flashing with malice. His golden fur shimmered even in the low torchlight, fangs bared in a predatory grin. "Well, well," he sneered. "So this is the famed Lycan King, and the little maid he's foolish enough to protect. How quaint." Rowan growled, stepping in front of Alara. "You dare threaten her?" he bellowed, voice vibrating with alpha authority. "One step closer, and you will regret it for the rest of your existence." The rival alpha laughed, a chilling, low sound. "She's mine by right of blood," he hissed, eyes flicking to Alara with an intensity that made her shiver. "Her power belongs to me, and I'll take what's mine." Alara felt something stir deep inside her, an awakening she hadn't fully understood. The surge of power that had flared during the first battle came again, stronger, hotter, almost alive. It pulsed through her veins, reacting to the threat to Rowan, and to the raw emotion of the moment. "Do you feel it?" Rowan whispered, his golden eyes locked on hers. "Your power, it's awakening fully. Let it guide you. Trust me." Ilara swallowed hard. I think I can." The rival lunged, and Rowan shifted fully into his wolf form, a golden blur of teeth and claws, intercepting the strike with impossible speed. The hallway erupted into chaos, a clash of power and fury that shook the stone walls. Elara's own power flared. A pulse of shimmering energy shot from her hands, striking the rival Alpha and knocking him back. Her breath caught. The air around her shimmered with raw force, and even Rowan paused, eyes widening in awe. You're stronger than I imagined," Rowan muttered, his voice rough, vibrating with both pride and possessive intensity. Ilara felt herself trembling, not just from fear but from exhilaration. This power, this connection with Rowan, was intoxicating. Every heartbeat, every surge of energy. The rival recovered, snarling.
"You cannot defy me! Your blood is mine to control!"
Rowan's growl shook the hallway.
"She is mine!"
He lunged, teeth bared, claws ready to tear through anything that threatened her. Elara's pulse surged, her energy flaring in response to Rowan's dominance. Together, their bond became a force impossible to ignore. A golden aura enveloped them, shimmering and raw, and the rivals staggered under the combined power of the Lycan King and his claimed mate. Rowan's eyes burned into hers.
"You hear me, Ilara? You are mine, and no one,
not even your bloodline, will take you from me." Tears pricked at her eyes. Fear, excitement, and the raw intensity of their connection surged together. "I'm yours," she whispered, voice trembling. "Always yours." The rival snarled one last time before retreating into the shadows, clearly defeated for now. Rowan shifted back, golden eyes still glowing, hands resting possessively on her waist. "That was close," he muttered, voice low and ragged. "But you're far more than I ever imagined. Far more powerful." Ilara's heart raced, chest heaving. I didn't know." "You didn't know because no one told you," Rowan said, brushing her hair back from her face, lips brushing her temple. "But now you'll learn. Your power, your bloodline and your place trembled. With you." "Yes," he growled softly, golden eyes blazing with possessive fire. "With me. Forever. And no one, no rival, no intruder, no fate would ever take you away." As the night closed in, Ilara realized fully that her life had changed irreversibly. She was no longer a maid, she was Rowan's. She was the Lycan King's mate, and together their power, desire, and bond were unstoppable. But somewhere in the shadows, a new threat watched, waiting for the moment to strike again. The training of fire and desire. The castle was quiet now, but the tension still lingered in every corridor, in every shadow. Rowan led Ilara to a secluded chamber, far from the prying eyes of servants or even loyal pack members. This room was specially designed for training, a place where power could be unleashed without restraint. "Ilara," Rowan said, his golden eyes locking with hers. "You cannot face what's coming if you cannot control your power. Your bloodline, your strength. It will either protect you or destroy everything around you. Do you understand?" Ilara nodded, though her stomach twisted with nerves. "I understand, but I don't know if I can." His gaze softened slightly, but the alpha dominance never left him. "You will. Because I am not letting anyone take you from me. And I will push you to become the only mate I could ever want, the only mate I could ever claim." Her pulse raced at his words, at the possessive intensity that laced every syllable. Her body hummed alive with anticipation and fear, her every nerve on fire. He circled her slowly, eyes drinking in her every move, as if assessing not just her body, but her strength, her spirit, and her very essence. "Focus," he murmured. "The power you felt, it responds to your emotions, to your connection with me. Fear, desire, need, use them. Let them guide you." Ilara's hands shook as she extended them instinctively, trying to summon the shimmering energy that had flared in the hallway. A pulse of golden light sparked at her fingertips, weak but alive. "Good," Rowan murmured, stepping closer, letting his presence overwhelm her senses. "Stronger. Let the connection guide you. Think of me. Of us. Let it burn through you." She gasped as the energy surged again, brighter this time, wrapping around her like a golden aura. Rowan's lips brushed her ear, hot and possessive. "You are mine," he whispered, voice low and ragged. "Mine to protect, mine to claim, mine to guide." Her pulse thundered in her chest. The power within her responded, and she felt an intoxicating rush of control and surrender at the same time. Rowan moved behind her, hands resting possessively on her shoulders, guiding her movements. Feel, not just the power, but me. Feel how it reacts when we are together. When we are bonded. The energy coursing through her flared wildly. She stumbled, trembling against him, but he held her firmly, golden eyes locked on hers with unrelenting intensity. "You are stronger than you realize," he said. "And you are mine. Every heartbeat, every breath, you belong to me."
"Do you feel it?"
"Yes,"
she whispered, breathless.
"I feel it, I'm yours."
His growl rumbled deep in his chest, possessive and raw. He turned her slowly to face him, their bodies inches apart. The air between them crackled not just with energy, but with unspoken desire and tension. "You are learning fast," he murmured, brushing a thumb over her cheek. "But there is more, much more, and I will not let you face it alone. I will teach you, guide you, protect you, claim you." Her heart raced. Every word, every touch, every glance stoked the fire within her. She was no longer the quiet, unnoticed maid. She was powerful, awakening, and utterly his. "And when you control it fully," he whispered, lips brushing hers, "you'll see no one in this world could ever touch you. Because you are mine, completely, forever." Elara's knees trembled, body quivering with the intensity of their closeness, the growing power within her, and the raw, possessive energy radiating from him. "Yes," she breathed. "I'm yours, always yours." Rowan's lips captured hers in a possessive kiss, slow and deliberate, full of promise and ownership. Their bond flared like wildfire, golden energy crackling around them as Elara felt not just the physical closeness, but the primal connection of soul, blood, and desire. The first night of training had begun, and with it a deeper awakening, a growing power, and a passion that neither of them would ever forget. But even as Rowan guided her, a shadow lingered on the horizon. The rival Alpha had not yet retreated for good. And when he returned, he would find more than just a maid. He would find a queen in the making, and a Lycan King who had lost all restraint. Awakening of the bloodline. The night was alive with tension. Outside the castle, the wind howled through the trees, carrying whispers of danger. Elara stood in the training chamber, golden energy still flickering at her fingertips, her body trembling from both exertion and anticipation. Rowan's gaze never left her, intense and unrelenting, as if he could see the raw power coursing through her veins. "You feel it now, don't you?" he murmured, stepping closer. "The connection, the bloodline inside you, it's awakening." Elara's chest heaved. I feel it, stronger than ever. But it's uncontrollable." Rowan's lips curved into a dangerous, possessive smile.
"Good, that means it's real. That means it's yours, ours."
Before she could respond, the castle trembled, a deep, resonant growl shaking the stone floors. Rowan stiffened instantly, golden eyes flaring with fury. "They've returned," he growled, claws flexing. "The rival Alpha, and he knows now." Elara's pulse thundered in her ears. Something primal stirred within her. Her power surged uncontrollably, reacting to both fear and Rowan's presence. Her eyes glowed faintly, golden light flickering like fire. Rowan moved in front of her, his body radiating Alpha dominance. "Stay behind me. Trust me." The rival Alpha burst into the chamber, eyes blazing, fangs bared. "You think you can hide her from me, Rowan?" he sneered. "Her power is mine by right of blood." Rowan growled, shifting fully into his wolf form, golden fur bristling,
Claws slashing the air. "She is mine! Do you understand?"
Elara felt the energy inside her ignite like wildfire. Golden flames of power erupted from her hands, surrounding them both. The rival staggered, taken aback by the sheer force emanating from the girl he had underestimated. Rowan's voice rumbled in her ear.
"Elara, focus it. Let it flow through you. You are stronger than he is. Use me."
She closed her eyes, feeling every heartbeat, every surge of power, every connection to Rowan. The golden aura expanded, flowing from her bloodline into every corner of the room. The rival Alpha was pushed back, struggling against the combined force of Rowan and the awakening power of Elara's blood.
You are impossible."
The rival gasped, stumbling. Rowan stepped forward, teeth bared, eyes glowing brighter than ever.
"No one touches her. No one, you hear me?"
Elara opened her eyes, golden light blazing from them, and a wave of energy shot forward, sending the rival crashing into the far wall. The chamber shook with the force of it. Rowan pressed close to her, his claws resting possessively on her shoulders, face inches from hers. "Do you see what you are?" he whispered, voice rough with awe and raw desire. "Do you understand now? You are mine, and no one will ever take you from me." Elara trembled, energy still coursing through her body pressed against his. "I understand," she whispered. "I am yours completely." Rowan's lips captured hers in a possessive, consuming kiss. Every ounce of tension, fear, and power flowed into it. His hands tangled in her hair, pulling her impossibly close as their bond flared brighter than ever, golden light shimmering around them like a shield. The rival Alpha, realizing he was utterly defeated, fled into the night, his malice dissolving under the combined force of Rowan and Elara. Rowan held her close, lips brushing her temple. Voice low and rough, "No one will ever hurt you again. Not rival, not intruder, not anyone. You are mine forever." Elara shivered, her chest heaving, eyes still glowing faintly with power. "Forever yours." The golden aura faded slowly, leaving the chamber bathed in a soft, warm glow. Their bond had strengthened, the bloodlines awakening, forging them closer than ever. Rowan rested his forehead against hers, voice trembling with both emotion and desire. "You are not just my mate," he whispered. "You are my power, my bond, my queen, and nothing, no one will ever come between us." Elara's hands rested on his chest, feeling the steady, powerful beat of his heart. She had never felt safer nor more alive. "Together," she whispered. "Together," he growled possessively, pulling her into a fierce, claiming kiss. And as the night stretched on, one truth shone brighter than any danger. The Lycan King and his awakened mate were unstoppable. Their bond, passion, and power had become one, and nothing could ever break it. The morning sun barely touched the horizon when Rowan led Elara to the castle's inner training grounds, a wide chamber carved from stone, filled with shadows and the faint scent of wild herbs. Here, no one could interfere. Here she could awaken fully, and he could claim her without restraint. "Elara," he said, voice low, almost a growl, "you must master your bloodline. Every surge, every pulse, every heartbeat must answer to us. To me." Her chest heaved, nerves and desire warring inside her. "I am ready," she whispered, though the tremble in her hands betrayed her fear. He stepped closer, the air between them thick with heat. His golden eyes scanned her like a predator marking his territory. "Good," he murmured, "because the longer you resist, the more dangerous it becomes. And I cannot let anything or anyone claim you but me." Her pulse raced. She had always been a maid, but unnoticed, invisible, but now she was seen, claimed, and desired beyond her wildest imagination. And the way Rowan's possessiveness radiated around her made her both terrified and exhilarated. "Focus on me," he ordered, stepping behind her. His hands rested on her shoulders, his warmth flooding her senses. "Feel the bond. Let it guide your energy. Let it flow through you." Elara closed her eyes, letting the golden light of her awakening bloodline surge within her. She felt it respond to him, her power growing stronger, sharper, more alive with every heartbeat, every breath, every thought of him. Rowan's growl vibrated through her, deep and possessive. "That's it, yes. You're stronger than even I imagined." His hands moved slowly down her arms, guiding, steadying, protective. "And when you fully control it, no one in this world will touch you. Not rival, not intruder, not fate itself." Her body trembled as her power flared again, energy crackling around her, golden sparks dancing in the dim light. She gasped as his proximity amplified it, every nerve alight, every thought focused on him. "You're mine," Rowan whispered, his lips brushing her temple. "Every heartbeat, every breath, every ounce of power mine. Do you understand?" "Yes," she breathed, trembling. "I'm yours, always yours." A low, feral growl rumbled from his chest. "Good, because the moment you claim your power fully, I will claim you fully as well." Before she could react, he pulled her close, lips crushing hers in a possessive, fiery kiss. Their golden energies collided, intertwining, flaring brighter than ever. Elara's hands tangled in his hair, her body pressing impossibly close, the heat between them almost unbearable. "You are mine," Rowan growled against her lips, teeth grazing the shell of her ear. "And I will not let anyone, anything, or fate itself take you from me." Her breath hitched as her powers surged again, responding to his dominance, his desire, his claim. She realized with a shiver that she had never felt so alive, so seen, so owned, and that she never wanted to feel otherwise. They broke apart just enough to stare into each other's eyes, foreheads pressed together, breaths mingling, golden energy shimmering softly around them. "You're ready," Rowan murmured, voice trembling with a dangerous mixture of pride, desire, and alpha possessiveness. "Ready to face the world with me." Elara's lips curved into a small, determined smile. "With you always." He captured her mouth again in a deep, claiming kiss, one hand holding her waist, the other tangled possessively in her hair. The golden light around them flared, a brilliant shield of bloodline power, protection, and primal desire. Outside, shadows lurked, waiting for the next opportunity to strike, but inside, Rowan and Elara were untouchable. Their bond, their passion, their combined power was unstoppable. And the Lycan King would make sure that no one, no rival, no intruder, no fate, ever claimed his mate. The training had begun, and so had their fiery, unbreakable rule over love, blood, and desire.